Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Strategic Growth Podcast. My name is Kyle Goulding. This is Pritchard, APR, PRSA fellow PRSA. I say that backwards sometimes.
That's
fellow
right.
PRSA, that's right. The professor is here with me today. We're going to discuss the recent phenomenon of quiet quitting, of course, followed up with quiet firing. So let's check it out.
Bam.
The Goulding Group Strategic Growth Podcast, formerly known as the Neo Marketing Podcast, offers real-world advice, expert analysis, and smart success strategies for entrepreneurs, investors, decision makers, and business leaders.
Pritch, have you heard about this that's happening now, this quiet quitting and quiet firing phenomenon out of nowhere?
Absolutely. And it's been going on a long time, I think. It's just got a name.
We used to call it like clock watching, half-assing, or
Right.
my dad would have said just being lazy.
Just being lazy. Exactly right.
So employees are doing the bare minimum at their job because somehow, by not putting any extra effort into working, they have this extra energy or extra time or extra whatever it is, mindset, to apply to their personal life, and they consider this a work-life balance issue.
Yeah. Okay.
Well, okay, so doing the bare minimum to earn a paycheck. Some people say, but isn't that what the employer is paying them to do? Meet the job descriptions, meet the minimum.
Yeah, but
these same individuals eventually will want pay raises, maybe promotions, maybe more responsibility so that they can earn raises, bonuses, promotions. And so how can you expect a raise or even a bonus if you were simply doing the minimum?
Doing the minimum. Well, in doing the minimum, you're often going to overlook things that if you were paying attention or you cared, you'd actually pick up, right?
Right.
And that's part of doing your job too, is seeing the unforeseen.
It's also, for me, this is the mistake I think people are making with it, and the issue that everyone's forgetting is that human beings do better when they have pride in what they do.
Absolutely.
When they have self-investment, when they feel good about doing something.
Yep.
Now, not every job on the planet is something you're like going to write home about, like, right? You know, I got this.
Right.
And especially when you're young, especially when you're trying to like get some experience and get up the corporate ladder, if you will.
Right.
But like the amazing thought process and words of Martin Luther King Jr., right? He said that if you're a street sweeper or a janitor or any job, to be the best street sweeper or janitor or CEO that you can be, and that it not for your boss, but for yourself.
For yourself, absolutely.
And his words were also about society too. Do it for yourself, but also do it for society and play your role in society.
Yeah,
and obviously, Dr. King was much smarter than I am and spoke more eloquently about these things as well. So people perform their best and feel better. When we talk about work-life balance, you feel better about going to work if you know you're putting your best performance in.
Right. And companies have some stake in this. They need to make sure that the employees know how valuable the contributions are.
Right. That they do need to meet you halfway. A good employer will meet you halfway and recognize when things are going well. That's why we have bonuses. That's why we have potential for promotion, promote from within, and things like this have been very popular and very utilized in business for a very long time.
And effective.
Right.
Yeah.
Because they are effective, right? And you have to have some sort of metrics to figure out how to give people more responsibility and make them more important in your business. Because the last thing you want to base that on is maybe what their last name is, or how long they've worked here, or who their parents might be, or worse, because they're the right skin tone, or any of those things that we don't want to be associated with why people become more successful.
Right.
Exactly. So the one thing you control is effort in this situation.
Yep.
So a lot of people say that quiet quitting, or this idea that you are just doing the bare minimum because it's good for your work-life balance. A lot of people would say that, we used to call it clock watchers. You call it phoning it in.
Right.
right? But you're not being a team player. Some people would go so far as to say that you're sort of stealing from the company.
Yeah, sure.
Because they're paying you much for a certain value, and if you're not reaching it, meeting the bare minimum means you also have a really good chance of not hitting the bare minimum.
Right.
Exactly. Going slightly over is a lot better than going slightly under. And some people would describe that coming in late, leaving early, not putting in 100% effort as stealing from the company.
Yeah, in a sense it is, absolutely.
Right. And it's not a path to success at all.
No.
Professionally, it's not a path for success.
Why would I want to promote somebody who's doing the bare minimum?
It's not good for the employee. It's not good for the business either.
Not at all.
So a better approach, here's my opinion and my advice for you out there who think maybe I should quit at my job because I'm not getting everything I need out of it as well. Number one, you guys, some people are already like, I'm ready to argue this conversation. Try it. Here we go, because this is good advice. Trust me. Honest communication.
Yeah.
Honest. Talk to your boss. Talk to your supervisor. Talk to the person who is giving you your assignments and giving you your job description and is gauging whether you are doing the bare minimum or if you're going above and beyond. Have that conversation about expectations.
Right. About
your time that you invest, not just coming to work every day, but overall, when you think about doing your job better, how you get dressed every morning, it's not just on the clock. You got travel time, but you also make sure your appearance is good every morning. Make sure you're dressed properly. Make sure that you're prepared for the day. That you even got enough sleep the night before as part of your preparation process, right? That's the time you put into it.
Yep.
Does your boss understand that? Your perspective of how much time you put into it, and your role, not just the job description, but your role on the team, in the department, in the company as a whole. How do you fit in? What's going on, and what do they think you could do in the future? That's a nice conversation you can have with a boss.
Yeah, I think though the quiet quitters, and I don't have anything to back this up except my own personal experience and observations, but they are going to be reluctant, I think, to go talk to the boss. So I put that on the boss. I think
it is absolutely a two-way conversation.
Absolutely.
And
if you see something like that,
I have advice for the boss coming next.
All right, cool.
But you're right. You are right about that. But for you that are considering quiet quitting right now, I'm telling you, you can have that conversation with your boss. And honestly, if you can't have a conversation with a boss, they're not willing to listen to you, that's not a good situation for you to be working in. I do recommend you find another job, but at the same time, do your job well. Maybe you can get a recommendation out of them. At the very least, you won't get a mark against your name, and you'll feel good about, even though I'm looking to leave, I still feel good about giving my all, and I feel good about my job performance here. And you're also developing your skills and you're building your experience for you that you'll always have. That's always yours. So do a good job and then take it with you, internally when you move on to something else. Because if you can't talk to your boss, you probably should move on to something else.
You probably should move on to something else.
That's not a good boss.
And it's well, I've forgotten what I was going to say.
But you can also have a conversation with your boss about the benefits of you working there, the benefits you bring, that experience and skills, etc., but the benefits you expect from them as well. And a lot of people, when they hear the word benefits, they think about insurance and days off, vacation days, sick days, paid time off, things like that, which that meets the standard definition, right? But I find in 2022, and I'm sure again in 23 moving forward, there are also a lot of other sort of what you would call non-standard or fringe or bonus benefits from working. Sometimes it is a boss who understands that you have kids, or understands that you are involved in something that happens on the weekends, whether you're a big sports fan or you have something in your family that you need to attend to, and there's flexibility that comes with that. Or even if they can't provide you paid time off, allowing you to have time off for things that are important, not trivial, not like because I stubbed my toe, I'm not coming in today. But if I have something in my life that's important to me, if a boss being flexible with you, allowing you to. If you can't come in on time today, maybe tomorrow you can come in a little bit early, or moving things around. Some flexibility or some adaptability. Also understanding the parameters. Not asking you to work late occasionally. It just happens. That's how life is. Sometimes it's even a challenge, a test to see if you're a good employee or not. Obviously, though, a boss asking you to work too much, work too late, things of that nature too often is abusive. And so you need parameters with that as well.
Right.
Don't call me at 10 o'clock at night. Don't text me at
Right.
4:30 in the morning.
Right.
Don't expect me to work every weekend when I don't get paid to work every weekend.
Right.
Is a completely different philosophy than this is one time and we're on a deadline or something's happening or someone else is sick. Maybe you're covering for another employee because we were flexible with them. And that's when our expectations are a team player. That is not an attempt to ruin your work-life balance.
Right.
So it comes down to common sense about, are they really trying to take advantage of me, or are they just doing what they need to do as a business, and can I be a good team player?
Right.
And again, it stays internally that you'll always know you did the right thing.
Right.
And you get experience and opportunities that you create with that.
Yep. And that was a bad habit for me to break coming out of the military, is that, the bosses would sometimes, middle of the night, something would happen and they needed an answer, and I'd answer them.
Well, the military is a little bit different animal than corporate America,
That's
if you
true.
will.
Yeah.
Because lives are often on the line when it comes to a military operation. But they may have also asked you a question that had nothing to do with anything at 2:30 in the morning.
At 2:30 in the morning. That's right. But I started to use the philosophy that, after a certain time of the day, I'm not going to answer my email. And you know what? The world kept turning.
As an entrepreneur, I had that bad habit too. I kind of joked I don't sleep very much, and I got into a bad habit of sending emails late at night, early in the morning,
right.
and I had some clients, especially like East Coast, West Coast, different with time differences,
right.
that really leaned into, I'm going to send this to you at midnight, and I expect that you'll have it done by 6 a.m.,
right.
which is a terrible expectation. But I put myself in that position, so it wasn't like I was working for someone else. I was working for me.
Yeah. Sorry, didn't mean to take us down that rabbit trail.
Well, it's a valid real-world example, right?
Yeah.
Something else you should do is work with your boss, not against your boss.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So come in, work hard, and then go home. Right?
Right.
That's work-life balance. Work hard,
That's
give
right.
100%, and then go
I
home.
I actually don't like that word balance. I think it's work-life integration.
I think you're right that balance is, because it does, balance tends to
it's never going to
create
balance.
a 50-50.
Right. It's never going to balance.
But it should have some flow to it.
Absolutely.
You
should be able to integrate both your work and
right.
your life.
We talk a lot on this podcast about the fact that doing business in today, 2022, fourth quarter, 2022, here we are, is different than 2 years ago, 5 years ago, and absolutely
right.
different than 20, 30, 50 years ago.
Darn right?
Just night and day differences. So the key to having a successful business at any time, but definitely at this time period, is the adaptability of your organization, of your departments, of your team members, and of the people involved. Sometimes you have to adapt because the market goes sideways, or because COVID shuts half the
right.
company down, or whatever supply chain issue, whatever it is, that is, well, we're not going to work a standard 9 to 5, 40-hour week this week, but in a week or two, I'll try my best to catch you back up. That
right.
adaptability and working with your boss, not against your boss.
Right.
I'm not excited about working overtime, but if you'll give me an extra vacation day or extra time or a bonus, whether it's cash or time off or whatever motivates you,
right.
if you just talk to your boss, just have conversations with them. At the very least, understand where they're coming from. Let them understand where you're coming from. Adapt, just like we give businesses that advice. Employees should take that same advice. Then it makes you more valuable, more of a integral part of the team. That's where you end up getting your bonuses, your promotions, and get to move up that ladder and get more responsibility. You have more you want to work for. You create a cycle of positive as opposed to a cycle of negative.
Yep.
So that's the experience. And my experience, my thought process, and my advice for employees that are considering quietly quitting.
Right.
Doing the bare minimum just to keep their paycheck, not being a great team player, things like that. But now the bosses have responded, right? They've come back.
In kind.
That's right. They're giving them, and talk about balance. They're trying to balance out the equation here by quietly firing or giving employees less responsibility and limiting their role.
Right.
Thus, kind of trapping them in their job, whether they're doing it because the employee has been quietly quitting and they sort of deserve to get throttled down in the process, or if they're just doing it because they're not great bosses, don't understand how to develop a team. Every situation is going to be different, right? But quiet firing, I told people to not quiet quit and to put themselves in there. as the employer, as a boss, it's not leadership to quiet fire.
No, it's
quiet
not
firing
management.
is the exact opposite of leadership and management.
Yep.
There are much better approaches to dealing with either employees who just can't rise to the occasion or employees who are intentionally not rising to the occasion. Right. Again, I said it earlier, we're coming back to us. This is the key point of this conversation, honest conversation.
Yes.
And you brought it up. The employee can go talk to the boss, but the boss should be talking to employees. Right?
Yep.
Honest, open conversation. If you consider yourself a boss, whether you're, the first level of management or the 15th or the CEO,
the very top, right?
If you're going to call yourself a leader, call yourself a boss, consider yourself in charge of anything, just being a team lead even, you have to take on some certain responsibility and you have to be open to the process. We just talked about how businesses have to adapt.
Right.
Leaders have to adapt within a business.
Well, and those are really hard conversations. So, we all know why people
do avoid them. But every hard conversation I've had, now I've had, like everyone out there, and I tell you, unless you're 9 years old,
right,
you've probably lost a job of some sort.
Yeah.
You got laid off, job was eliminated, you got fired for no really good reason. Maybe you got fired for a good reason, or some other reason where you were let go from a job. Trust me, folks. I've been working since I was a teenager. I've been working for 30-something years now. Right? It happens to everyone. Don't get too caught up on losing a job or getting fired. It happens to everyone. But those tough conversations, whether it was the boss was mad at me and I was going into a tough conversation because I was deserving of the ire, or the other way around, I was unhappy with my job and I was going to come and quit or make demands of my boss. The build-up, the anticipation is much worse than the actual execution.
Yeah, that great line from Treasure of the Sierra Madre, right? The worst ain't so bad once it finally happens.
That's right.
It's the worrying about it that gets you.
The worrying about it is the hardest part. Being open communication when there's not a problem makes communication when there is a problem much easier.
Absolutely.
Once you can get that initial thing, boss, I'm unhappy, or employee, I'm unhappy. Let's have some conversations. Let's fix this.
Yeah.
Let's work upon this. Or this is the other thing too, when I tell you guys, don't be uptight about losing a job, is often if an employer, a boss is a good boss, if they're a good professional, they recognize someone is not the right fit, they're not the right employee, they don't bring the right skill sets and attitude, and it's not going to work out for them.
Right.
It's better rip that Band-Aid off and go ahead and find them another opportunity.
Right.
Our friend Kitt Letcher, the president and CEO of the BBB, the Better Business Bureau of Oklahoma City, Central Oklahoma, I think. She is amazing at, if she recognizes an employee is not thriving in a role, to have a conversation with them about how can I help you find another job, whether it's in the organization or outside the organization, that fits you and your skill set and your lifestyle and your goals, etc. And she's amazed. We've had conversations, her and I, about employees think if you talk to the boss about quitting or looking for another job, that they get angry, get out of here. I hope you fail.
Cut you off at the knees.
She's a great boss who builds great culture.
Yeah.
And so let's have a conversation. If this is not fit for you, maybe I can help you find another job, literally working for someone else, because it's the person involved.
Right.
You can always fill the role again. There's another person that's got a skill set that can fill any role in the business. There's hundreds, thousands, millions of them out there.
Yeah.
If it's not right for you, if it's not right for them, be honest with each other. And if you have a good boss, they'll help you transition, whether, again, a different department, different part of the company, or a different job altogether.
Yep.
The bad bosses, and you'll know because they don't communicate with you honestly, are the ones who potentially will, oh, you don't want to work here, screw you, get out, right? You should already know that they're a bad boss, and you don't have to be upfront with them. But a boss who has been open in the communication, it may end up that you leave that position and go somewhere else, but it could be a good process.
Absolutely.
And often it works out better for everyone. 2 years, 5 years later, you look back and go, man, I'm glad I left that job, or I'm glad we let that person go and they went and thrived in something else, and the person we brought in thrived for us.
Right.
And so, just make it happen. Honest communication is the key to that.
And sometimes that's all it takes. What can we do to make this job more professionally rewarding for you?
Yeah. And if we can't, then let's find a fit that can, and then let's bring someone in who wants to meet the situation we have.
Yeah, absolutely.
And there's nothing wrong with it. There's nothing bad about that. There's nothing hateful about that. You don't have to be angry at someone because what they want out of life isn't working for you.
Right.
To be your employee.
Right.
Now, if they're having a conversation with you. If they're quiet quitting, if they're sitting there doing the bare minimum, grumbling under their breath about how much they hate working here and a bunch of vampires sucking the life out of me, well, it makes it really hard for you as the boss to appreciate them going on to do other good things in the world because they weren't honest with you. That's why this honest conversation note is, I got to highlight it in my notes here. It's so important, both directions.
Yep.
Now, if you're the boss who wants to be the opposite of a quiet firing boss, you need to be offering advice, communication, training.
Yeah.
If you want people to be better at their job, to understand their role in the company, to be invested, to come in every day and say, I'm going to give you 100%, no matter what the expectation is, because I understand what I'm doing and how it feeds into the rest of the success of the company, and I want to be part of that success. Training and communication is the key to that.
Absolutely.
You can't expect people to just personally develop on their own accidentally. You as the boss have to invest. Whether it's small stuff, just little tips, just a little attaboys, pat on the backs, just some, my door's only open, little stuff like that goes a long ways. And then training. Telling them why you made a decision, the process that was involved, showing them the written documentation, explaining what you have to do as the boss when you go up to your boss and their boss and their boss, etc. That goes a long ways. And, the old adage, right? Like, what if we spend all this time and money training our people and they leave?
Right.
Well, what if we don't train them and they stay?
Right. Exactly. That's the corollary.
As a good boss, you have to invest time, effort, budget in training your people if you're going to have expectations of them.
Absolutely.
And you can take it further. It can be mentorship. And again, mentorship can be really small. Sometimes people hear that word and they think to themselves, mentorship's like, I have to have this formal, sit down and let's write out your goals. And that is part of mentorship.
It can be.
But often the most effective mentorship is just checking in with people, asking them how they're doing, making sure you're supporting them as the boss or the person in charge. Just some of these simple, honest conversation can go a long ways where people don't even realize they're being mentored to until at some point they've built up enough experience, enough information, they understand the best practices that you've been imbibing in them, that they can utilize them naturally on their own. And now you've been mentoring them.
Right, exactly.
Mentoring is huge. So be honest, train them up when you can, mentor them as you can. And again, if it turns out it's not the right fit, rip that Band-Aid off, have a conversation, move them into a situation that fits them better, and then move someone else into this situation that fits better. It's better for them, it's better for the company, better for the department, better for the team too.
Yep. Absolutely.
Nothing will kill your team dynamic more than one quiet quitter. One quiet quitter could really drag down a team of top performers.
Absolutely.
Because they see that person.
And they're getting the same benefits that the hard workers are getting, and that's not cool.
So you have to think of your team. You're thinking an individual, but you have to think of your team. You have to be honest and equitable with everyone in the department. It's not fair to make 6 people carry the load of 10 because 4 of them are just doing the bare minimum. So you have to make sure that you're doing the best for that 4, train them up, mentor them, trying to make them part of the team, make them feel involved. And then if you can't, go ahead and move them out, make the right thing, but move them in a way that's a very human way, a very human approach to that. So what is that work-life balance? You didn't like the word balance. I said flow, but how do we balance or equate our work life and our home life and our humanity outside of the idea of quiet quitting or quiet firing, right?
Right.
Well, like I said earlier, when you're on the job, just go hard and then go home.
And then go home.
Create clear separations as the employee and as the boss. And you were saying, you had bosses that kind of cross those lines, and as an employee, you would allow them to do that.
Right.
So you both need to create those things with some flexibility and adaptability in that as well, right? Set those boundaries. The ability to turn off the phone, not answer emails after a certain time, on weekends, etc. Outside of if your job has something to do with emergencies or people losing their life.
Right.
If you're a firefighter, if you're a police officer, if you're a first responder, if you're in the military,
and
all this is out.
You're on duty,
but if
don't turn the phone off.
If you're the assistant marketing director in a corporate marketing department, you can, someone's got to be monitoring the brand 24/7. But if it's not your weekend to be monitoring the brand, turn your phone off.
Right.
Don't answer the emails. Don't check don't check in if you don't need to. Don't be mad if your considering quiet quitting, considering not putting 100% effort in, but don't be mad at your coworkers that put 110% in.
Right.
Now the old days, right, we see, they kind of kiss up, brown nose, all those kind of terms for someone who tried to work themselves ahead.
Right.
If you are not willing to put 110% in and someone else is, why would you be mad about that as a person, as an individual, as a human?
Right.
If you're going to put a certain amount in, don't be caught up in other people getting ahead of you because they put more effort in or more focus or brought more to the job.
Right.
That's the main thing is you can't be mad about it when other people pass you in this process if you're not giving 100% in the process.
That's right.
If you don't ask for it, you won't get it.
That's true too.
Have those conversations, right? Communicate. Some people feel if they tell their boss they're not happy with their job, not happy with their role, they would like more out of this. Again, they have that expectation that the boss is going to go, well, screw you, get out.
Right.
Well, trust me, if you have a boss that reacts that quickly to I'm not 100% happy here, it's a blessing that you got out of that.
That's exactly
It might suck in a short term that you got to spend less money this week on some food and rent, but in the long run, you're much better off if you have a boss that reacts like that. Most people who have risen to a level of leadership in an organization because they started somewhere and they rose up and they understand, and if you've had any honest conversation with them at all, you can tell them, I'm not happy about this. Here's what I'd like. It doesn't mean you're going to get it, but you absolutely won't get it if you don't express yourself.
Exactly.
So have those conversations, be willing to ask for it. If it goes sideways quickly because you simply expressed yourself, you want out of there anyway.
That's exactly right.
That's being a bad boss. That's being, and it's a bad situation for the employees as well.
Yep.
Caring about your performance as a professional is different than caring about things like the company profit or the bottom line. People often think, well, I don't care if this company makes a boatload of money, or why am I working myself to death so that CEO can get a new Ferrari?
Right.
Sure, but that's not why you come to work every day. There's a personal value. We had that conversation earlier about your personal value of giving your best, about having opportunities. Those opportunities create experience for you. That experience you will always have. The skills you develop, you will always have. The relationships you build along the way, not just your boss, but everyone else in the organization and other departments, etc. All of that is always yours. So doing your best isn't about making the CEO more money. It isn't about a profit margin or the bottom line or the stock price. Don't think of it that way. Get that out of your head that I don't need to work hard just to make these other people more money. Yeah. You need to work.
That's just the justification for slacking.
Exactly. Work to a level that you feel pride in, that you feel invested in, that you can develop your personal skill sets, your experiences, your relationships. If you're doing that, who cares because there's always someone who's making more money than you somewhere.
Darn right.
There's always someone ahead of you in the chain, always someone making more money. Often are people making a boatload of money who you think don't really bring anything to the table.
Right.
It's irrelevant.
Right.
We talk about business, right? When you you have competition in business, it's not about you beating them. It's about you doing your best, and you're letting your competition take the part of the market you didn't want anyways, right? It's the same thing when you're an employee. Do your best, do your thing, set out your career path, build your personal inventory that's all internal that you'll always have inside of you.
Right.
And don't worry that someone else got ahead because they're friends with someone or they know someone or they did something. Now, when people cross unethical lines, if people are telling untrue stories or setting people up for failure, it's okay to have those conversations with HR department and things of that nature, especially legal and accounting, right? Everything has to be legal and ethical. But if someone just outworked you or someone got picked for a reason you disagree with, you just got to let it go, move on. You got to focus on yourself. You can't focus on the others that you're competing with.
Right.
And you also can't focus on, if I do a great job today, someone else makes a bonus, someone else makes money, someone else gets rich. You have to focus on, if I do a good job today, I'm going to feel good about me doing my job, and I'm going to be a more capable employee tomorrow, whether I'm working here or somewhere else.
I'll be added value.
That's why it's a career path. It's long and winding. It's always changing. It's not a direct A to B. I don't do a good job today, and then I get the thing tomorrow. It's a continual process. That's why if you focus on that, the long game, the big game, the long path, all of that, and not focus on who's making more money than me, then you can be happy in your part of the process. And work your way through it in a good way.
Right.
And ultimately, for the bosses, right? Every organization, as you go up the organization, there are less people right there. There's only one CEO. There's not 100 of them. There's not 10,000 of them.
Right.
So at some point, every part of the organization wants to, hire from within, right? Promote from within.
Right.
There's only so many positions above you. Everyone in your department doesn't get to rise up to the next level of the next department. Right. There's only one way to separate yourself, and it's by being in control of this process. And if you want to stay in the job that you're at now for the rest of your life, then do the minimum, do 80%, do 90%, do 99%, be unhappy about it, don't communicate, don't be a team player, and you may not get fired, but you definitely will never get to the next level. You won't get those bonuses, you won't get those raises, you won't get those new opportunities, which again creates skills and things that are internal to you that you can take with you for the rest of your life.
Yep.
So the best workers move up. Just is what it is.
It is what it is.
That's how the system always has been. It works for employers. You have to be, if you're going to be an employee, you have to play that game. Bring it along with you as well. The worst, get let go. At some point, there's a budget that gets cut. There's a decision that has to be made. The easiest thing to do is let the least performing individual go. If you want to be that guy or girl, do the minimum.
Right.
If you don't want to be that person on the chopping block, do more. It's that easy. It's that simple, folks. Whatever your attitude is about it, if you do more, if you try harder, if you express yourself, if you communicate, if you're a team player, the likelihood of getting moving up goes up and the likelihood of getting cut goes down. And that's what you want to do in yourself. Ultimately, invest in yourself, educate yourself, whether it's informal or formal. Take the opportunity to learn about your job, learn about the role in the company, or even, can I go back to school? Can I get more education that makes me better at the job? There are employers who'd be happy to do that for you.
Right.
Those are positive outcomes for you. So lean into that. Look for new skills, new training opportunities. Be mentored and create a reputation for yourself. Again, whether that reputation is get you up the chain in that position, in that market, in that department, or another job. Maybe your next job comes off the reputation you built on this job.
Yep.
I've had that happen in my life where I was a service provider and the client kept saying, you're the guy we ask for because you get it done right every time. How about we pay you more to come work for us?
Right.
There's possibilities for that as well. And at the end of the day, we talked about honest communication. We kind of skirted around it, but I'm going to hit this last because you know how much I love to talk about ethics.
Yep.
You have to be ethical. Now, I understand the concept of I'm just doing what they tell me to. I'm just doing the job description and doing that bare minimum. You and I have just talked about the fact we don't really feel solid about that, but I understand why people might think that way. But you have to be ethical in your approach. You have to be a member of a team. If you have expectations, if you have a job description, you have expectations from your boss, from your teammates, etc., you got to live up to those things. Not doing it intentionally and on a regular basis, creating a pattern is unethical.
Absolutely.
And people, when they see you as not a great team player, that's a bad thing. If they see you as a bad team player, that's obviously very, very bad. If people view you, if your reputation you create for yourself is unethical, your employment opportunities go to zero.
Absolutely.
People don't like hiring people who give minimum performances, but people absolutely will refuse to hire unethical people. Or they will cut them as quick as they can because unethical people are untrustworthy, and that lack of ethical decision-making could spread across the team.
Absolutely. It's a liability to
It's a cancer. It has to be cut out, and employers will do it. So do not put yourself in a position of being seen as unethical by missing those minimums. Like I said earlier, if you're trying to shoot for 99%, you might hit 90 or 80% or 75%. Do that on enough of a regular basis, you are seen as someone who is taking away, detracting, being a negative, and that can be seen as unethical, and that is mud you often cannot get off of your reputation.
It's a stain.
It is a stain that you just can't get into. So I'm going to leave you guys with this quote from the billionaire Richard Branson, right? He's had some jobs. He's employed a lot of people. He's made some money in the world. Create the kind of company culture that will attract great talent. If you hire brilliant people, they will make work feel more like play.
Yeah.
Now, Richard Branson has a good reputation of making work fun. People like to work for him. Now, he's in the industry. It's airline and hotels and resorts, right? It's easy to feel good and working in a resort, right? But someone's got to be doing the accounting and the HR and the marketing and all of that for all of those facilities and things that he works in. So as an employer, think about company culture. Think about attracting and retaining great talent. Hiring brilliant people and making work feel like play comes from the top down. It comes from leadership. So forget the idea of quiet firing and instead be a loud leader.
There we go.
In expressing your corporate culture, your corporate values, and inviting people to participate. If you do that from the top down, the people who want to be involved, who get it, are willing to put in that extra effort because it pays off or it's fun or it doesn't feel like work, and that's your motto, then it's going to work out correctly.
Absolutely.
There you go, folks.
There we go.
Stop the quiet quitting. Stop the quiet firing. Have honest conversations with each other. Work in situations that are beneficial for all. If you do all of that, the minutia, the small stuff fills itself in.
Absolutely. Good stuff.
Thank you guys so much for hanging out with us for over 30 minutes today. But this is a hot topic. It's been around a minute. We said we were going to address it. We addressed it today. Right. We appreciate you guys tuning in each and every episode of the Strategic Growth Podcast. Make sure you hit that subscribe button. Leave a review. We'd appreciate that a lot. Tell a friend. Maybe send this to someone who's considering quiet quitting. Or maybe there's someone who has a habit of quiet firing. And maybe we'll change our perspective as well. Until next time, good luck.
Ciao.
Thanks for listening to the Golding Group Strategic Growth Podcast. Make sure to subscribe so you never miss an episode. Tell a friend, leave a review, and engage with us on social media. To contact us, please visit thegoldinggroup.com.